3 out of 5. 4, 3, 2, 1. I mean, we're live on YouTube. Yes, we are live on YouTube. And in 3, 2, 1. Oh, yeah, we're live on Facebook Live. Hello, hello. I am Dan Salem. Live on multiple platforms at once because technology is awesome. BuzzChomp on YouTube. The Dan Salem on Facebook Live. I'm going to tweet out my link starting from BuzzChomp at BuzzChomp with 3 Z's on Twitter. It's been tweeted. I tweeted it at myself at the Dan Salem on Twitter. And I think, yeah, I'm going to retweet it. Let's do that. Gonna hit the retweet button because the retweet button's your friend. So if you feel so inclined, you guys can hit the retweet button also. And bam, boom. Okay, at the Dan Salem on Twitter, Facebook Live, BuzzChomp, YouTube. We're here, we're talking NFL Week 15. I'm a Jets fan. I can't help but share it with you. So we will start with the Jets and talk a little Jets, and then we are going to talk the football season at large because the Jets are out of the playoffs, and despite a victory last weekend, their season is more or less meaningless, separate from a couple of fun storylines if you're a Jets fan, meaningless for the rest of the NFL fans out there. So, the Jets played the San Francisco 49ers and had to have a comeback from behind to get the victory. San Francisco is easily the second worst team in the NFL, ahead behind the Cleveland Browns, depending on how who's counting. They're not really tanking the year, but they don't have a quarterback of the future, and their coach is in his first season, so they didn't really need the victory as much as the Jets did. The Jets got humiliated on Monday Night Football the week prior. People were questioning whether they were playing for their coach Todd Bowles or not, and whether they had effort. And the game started 14-0, and they looked like they had no effort. Then they pulled it together, showed heart, showed they actually care about themselves and their self-respect, showed that they are a better team than the 49ers because everybody and their mother knew that except they weren't playing like it. And they showed that they liked their coach because they pulled out a victory for him and for themselves, which really means a lot because I like Todd Bowles. He's only in his second season. He had a great first year, and this is a road bump. I mean, it was 50-50 whether the Jets were going to be any good this season, considering the veterans and the turnover on the roster, and they were trying to get young while still compete. That's tough to do. They weren't great. We got 4 wins now. We're going to end probably with 5, maybe 6 if we're lucky. I don't see us sweeping the rest of the year. But the Dolphins coming up here on Saturday. Yes, you heard me right, Saturday. They are without their starting quarterback, and although they have playoff aspirations, minus their QB, I like the Jets' chances. But we'll get there in a second. Back to the 49er game. Bryce Petty got his second start, but really it was his first start as the number 1 quarterback. He's the number 1 quarterback for the rest of the season. Yay, youth, and yay, new things. Fitzpatrick was great last year. He was not so great this year. He was a veteran, 6th team, 10 years in the league, and he was never going to be on the team very long. So I was excited to see our young quarterback, one of them, get a chance to lead the team. And I liked his moxie. I liked that he gritted it out, pulled it together, made the plays. No, he didn't make all the right decisions. Yes, he made some bad ones here or there, and he really, the main takeaway for me, and you've probably seen it written all over the internet, Bryce Petty held the football way too long, and then he got sacked a lot. Or he threw the ball away. He didn't go through his progressions fast enough, which means he didn't check down from his first to his second to his third receiver fast enough to get a completion. And I think that once he can learn where Brandon Marshall is on the field, he's going to do infinitely better because he's got a great rapport with Robbie Anderson. But Robbie Anderson's the number, is he the 2 or 3? He's like the number 2 or 3. They're flipping him around between games. But Brandon Marshall's the number 1, and he didn't get the ball to him very much. Now, him and Robbie Anderson had a really good thing going in the preseason, and it was obvious that they trust one another, and he just knows where to put it. Brandon Marshall, he's more talented than Anderson and much stronger. So Petty got to find the football in Marshall's hands, and this offense is going to take off. And then the running game, because trust your running game, trust what you're given. We'll get to the injury in a moment, but Bilal Powell had to step up into the number one spot because Forte went out, and he just dominated. He dominated, and wow, we got him at a steal. I think we got another 2 years with him. He could easily be the number one next year, depending on what happens to Forte. There's a couple of running backs near the top of the draft, but I hesitate to go running back with Bilal Powell on the team. Man, he looks great. Now, 49ers suck, so yes, bad defense, but he got like 145 yards and 2 scores after not starting the first quarter, so it's good stuff. It's real good stuff. The flip side of that was the injury to Matt Forte, who tweaked his knee. He's been battling a knee injury all season. I mean, he was injured, I think, ankle last year, and he's an older guy. He's going to be battling injuries. He's questionable every single week on the Jets. So he tweaked it a little bit more. He had to come out. He rested it. I really think the Jets really don't have much more to play for besides pride. So why risk serious injury when it's not really necessary? The Jets would want Forte for next year or as a good trade chip in the offseason with a healthy. If he's injured, but that's no good for anybody. So I think it was a smart decision to have him sit. It hurt me and my fantasy team. I lost by 2 points, and Forte only ended up with 0.8. Would have won the week if Forte didn't go out hurt, if he gritted it through. If the Jets were having to actually play for something, they were playing for nothing. He took the bench, and Powell got all the points. Woe is me. That is how fantasy football goes. Get shot in the heart week after week after week, and yet we'll keep playing. Kind of like being a Jets fan. So, that being said, I don't know the status of Forte's MRI. Let me peep the ESPN blogger sphere here if they said anything. We got 2 guys hitting the IR. I'll talk about that in a second. Forte's day-to-day with his knee injury. So they're going to have an injury report tomorrow. Okay, so he's day-to-day. That means that it's a bruise, not serious. I don't think he'll play on Saturday. It's a short week. 1 fewer days to recover. And like I said, honestly, we want to win, but Powell's great. Why risk Forte a long-term injury? Just let him heal. Let him heal. I hope they bench him. Not bench, but I hope they give him his rest. The other 2 news I saw here, safety Marcus Gilchrist and right tackle Brino Giacomini are now placed on injury reserve. Only 3 games left. Jets have 12 players on IR. That sounds like an awful lot. I don't know what the league average is. I got to believe it's like more like 6 or 7. 12 is a lot of guys that got put on IR. We had a lot of injuries this year, starting at first and foremost Eric Decker early in the season, and that hurts. The offensive line had a lot of injuries, and guys step up and they do good enough, but they didn't have the whole offseason working with the number ones, and it shows. Okay, so 49ers game. I liked what I saw out of Bryce Petty. I liked his playmaking ability, and I liked that he got better as the game went on, and he was at his best at the very end of the fourth quarter and in overtime. That's what you want to see. That's what we didn't see from him the first time he started, because at the end of that game, he threw a pick, and he looked like he didn't know what to do in the 2-minute offense. This week, no, we didn't have any of that. He looked confident. He was playing his game with a dominant running attack that he could rely on and receivers that were there for him. It's good stuff. So now we take that in to Week 15 against the Dolphins. The Dolphins are in the thick of a playoff race here. Let me bring up the standings. I believe they are they 8-5? They're 8-5. 6-1 at home. Good thing the Jets are at home this week. They are 8-5, and they need every victory to any hope of a wild card, which honestly I don't think they're going to get this chance. Oakland's at 10-3 with it, and you got Denver at 8-5, and a couple teams at 7-6. So Miami lost Ryan Tannehill for the season. Hopefully it's not super serious and he can come back, but I almost positive he's gone for the rest of the regular season at the very least. So they got a backup quarterback coming in. They're on the road in New York. The Dolphins are 2-4 this year on the road. Now, the Jets aren't great at home. They're actually awful at 1-5. But I'd like to think that would even out over the course of the season. And so with 2 more home games, that might be 2 more victories, and it'll get closer to 500. You'd like to play better at home. The Dolphins are unstoppable at home. But I know Miami's a better team than the Jets in principle, but whether they can rally around their new quarterback or not is something to be seen. So, they play Saturday. It's the lone game. I'm excited because it's a rivalry game for my team, but I have a feeling the rest of the NFL fans out there could give a crap about the Jets versus the Dolphins. That being said, the playoff race is heating up. So, let's talk about the AFC standings here. Now, the Chiefs are currently ahead in the AFC West, but they're tied, so that division's up in the air. The Pittsburgh Steelers are only a game up in their division over the Ravens, so that division's up in the air. The Texans are atop their division, but they're tied with the Tennessee Titans and only a game ahead of the Colts, so that division's up in the air. Lo and behold, only the AFC East is really locked up. If the Patriots lose all of their last 3 games, they will be 11-5. And if the Dolphins win all of their last 3 games, they will be 11-5. But I have a feeling, I believe that New England owns the tiebreaker, so they're winning the division. I mean, that's like a far-fetched scenario where the Patriots lose 3 games in a row and the Dolphins win out with a backup quarterback. So the Patriots have pretty much been the only AFC team to lock something up here. I like the Raiders to ultimately win the AFC West. The Chiefs get the wild card. Pittsburgh seems to be in the driver's seat, even though I really feel like the Ravens have had the better season. I think the Ravens are going to be on the outside of the playoffs this year looking in, wishing that the ball bounced slightly differently for them, because that game is going to be tough for them to make up against Pittsburgh. And I also think that Tennessee pulls ahead of Houston and wins that division. That leaves the final wild card spot really up in the air between Denver, Miami, Houston, Baltimore. I don't like the Colts. I just don't think they're good enough. So, because I'm giving Kansas City a wild card. So, I mean, if I had to pick one of those teams that's the best team, it's Denver. But I also have a harder schedule. So, I kind of think it's going to go to the Texans, but perhaps the Ravens steal it. I don't know. Somehow I just feel like the Broncos are going to miss, but they might wrap it up. I mean, they got it right now. Out in the NFC, Dallas has already clinched their playoff berth, and they pretty much got the division locked up. Even though if they and the Giants finish tied, which can easily happen now, 11-2, 9-4, the Giants have swept them, so they won the tiebreaker. So if the Giants win out, they got a shot at the NFC East, but the Cowboys would have to lose a couple, and I'm not particularly counting on that. I want the Lions to hold on to their division, but I actually think Green Bay can steal it from them because they play in the final week of the season, and Detroit has to play both Dallas and New York Giants. I don't think they win them both, and I do think that Green Bay wins the next 2 games because Minnesota, they need that one, and the Chicago stinks. So I think it's going to be the tied Lions-Packers at the final week of the season for the division. I think Green Bay gets it, but I also think Detroit holds on for a wild card berth. Seattle's going to win the West, even though they shouldn't because they have been such a schizophrenic, crappy team. And I think that Atlanta wins the South, which gives... No, so, I mean, the Giants are getting a wild card. That's going to happen. I guess I like Tampa Bay over Detroit because I really do think Tampa Bay is going to be in the playoffs. I don't know, that's a tough one. Maybe Detroit gets that final wild card and Tampa Bay is on the outside looking in, even though they're on a hot streak like all other. These final spots, this is what we want. That's why there's 2 wild cards. We want these last 3 weeks. They're all divisional games pretty much across the board. And the playoffs are on the line. The wild cards and the division leads. This is great because the divisions, outside of the AFC and NFC East, all the other 6 divisions are up for grabs. And we got a lot of divisional matchups here. Starting on Thursday night and then the Jets play Saturday. This is exciting. And then a huge slate for Christmas Eve because no one wants to play on Christmas Day, which is just super fun because, tons of people have parties Christmas Eve. And there's a lot of football action going on all day long on Christmas Eve. And then New Year's Day, we get football. We get the college football playoff New Year's Eve. And then the NFL regular season ends on New Year's Day. That is just perfect timing. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, questions. I don't see any questions. Okay. So, let me talk for a shake about fantasy. At least in terms of the Jets, I'd grab Bilal Powell in a heartbeat. I think that he's going to have a big game against Miami and probably Buffalo. I don't know about New England. I wouldn't count on Forte this week. Fantasy playoffs are too important, and if he plays, he's going to be limited action. I think Powell gets the majority of the workload. And I'd snatch up Robbie Anderson. I should actually see if he's on my waiver wire because probably not too many Jets fans in my league. Him and Petty have a good rapport. He almost hit up 100 yards last week. I don't see that changing, and he's great going forward. I mean, he's showing like good stuff. He's only a rookie who's undrafted. Be careful of these matchups in fantasy. I try to pick them each week, and I've gotten burned with my wide receivers week after week after week. I think that somebody's playing the Seattle Seahawks, and that's a tough matchup. No, the Packers, they shredded the Seahawks. They shredded them. So that was a fallacy. While Seattle supposedly had a great defense, they got shredded, and the better fantasy matchup was versus the Seahawks than my other two. So despite what you may think, hopefully you got good instincts and trust them. Mine would be to play the matchups this year, and it cost me because our league was super close, and I lost multiple weeks by like a point or two. And all I had to do was start one other wide receiver over another, and I would have won them. And that would have put me in the playoffs. I mean, that's why fantasy is like a shot in the heart, like being a Jets fan. Everybody that got burned in fantasy football this year, now you know what it's like to be a New York Jets fan, or a Cleveland Browns fan this season, or a 49ers fan, or a Bears fan this season, or a Jaguars fan almost every year as well. Jaguars and Browns are perennial Jets fans. These other players, not so much. So, if we are looking at the draft now, because as a Jets fan, the rest of the regular season is just Petty's audition, and maybe we'll get some other rookies in there. You're playing for pride. You want to beat your division rivals, but honestly, I don't want the team to tank, but if they win too many games, we are going to fall very far back in the top 10. We're like 5 or 6 right now, but there are a couple teams looming. So we're 4-9, right? Buffalo's 6-7. Now, that's a little bit farther away. It's 2 games separated. I don't think that they would go 6-10, but they're inching around there. But basically, Cleveland's secured the number 1 spot. Cincinnati's 5-7-1. The Jets could finish ahead of Cincinnati in principle. You got Jacksonville at 2-11. They're going to be the second pick. But then also, San Diego's 5-8. So the Jets are 4-9 and San Diego's 5-8. San Diego could finish ahead of the Jets in the draft. Philadelphia Eagles are now 5-8. They could finish ahead of the Jets. So that's 2 more teams now, with the Jets keep winning here, that are within striking distance of being ahead of the Jets. And that's bumping the Jets back to 7th to 8th pick. Now, the reason that bothers me is because there's only like 1 or 2... There's like 1 great safety and 1 great cornerback at the very top of the draft, and 1 offensive lineman that probably is top 15. I don't know if he's top 10. The Jets need all 3 of those positions, and I don't know who's going to be still available, because teams may draft a quarterback at the top of the draft. The Heisman Trophy winner is likely to go top 5, but I'm not sure any of these quarterbacks deserve a top 10 pick. I can see late first round, but the expectations lumped upon them are going to be so high, and I don't think that they're NFL ready. Not that they can't be great NFL quarterbacks, but I don't think they're NFL ready. Like, Jets went Hackenberg in second round, and he wasn't ready year 1. But they're getting so much flack because he was a second round pick. If he was a third or a fourth round pick, they wouldn't have been getting flack. But the second round pick, oh my goodness. So imagine a first round pick, and then the guy's not ready for at least a full year. You get so much flack. Oh, and I'm remiss if I say, okay, so the Eagles are 5-8. Bears are 3-10. They're likely going to be ahead of the Jets in the draft. Then you got Carolina, New Orleans, and Los Angeles and Arizona all lumped together there. Oh my goodness. The Saints and Panthers are 5-8. Cardinals are 5-7-1, and the Rams are 4-9. So the Jets could easily find themselves with the 12th pick in the draft, and the difference between the 6th pick and the 12th pick is huge in terms of talent this year because, like I said, sometimes you get 2 quarterbacks at the top, and that bumps the talent back. And then, I guess I should take it back. There's a lot of great talent out there, but there's a lot of good defensive ends and defensive linemen again, and the Jets are very, very stocked there. Now, maybe they could grab one of those guys and convert them to outside linebacker, but we got 2 really good rookie linebackers this year that are just eating it up. So I don't know where these guys convert per se. There's a couple guys that could convert to linebacker and would help because the Jets also have a couple linebacker positions still to fill. But The biggest hole is on the offensive line, in my opinion, and in the secondary, and we need to fill those with the top first-round pick. And if we win too many games, it's not going to be there for us come 10th, 12th pick. Now, obviously, you want to win and you want to go out on a high note. I would love to win the final game of the season. Would love to beat Miami. So I doubt we win out, but it's probably a 6-10 year. And 6 wins is going to be around the 7th or 8th pick, which I can live with. I don't think it's going to be up as high as 5, though. I really think the Rams, they just fired their coach. I don't think they win any more games. And I do think the Jets get at least 1, if not 2 more victories. Questions around the horn. I was a little late today. I apologize for that, but had to get a little exercise in. Film some fitness vlogs for you guys. 30 minutes is no big deal. Enjoyed my time talking the NFL here. We got a Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday slate of games. Oh my God, the NFL's on almost every single day now. Tuesdays, Wednesdays are the only, I guess Fridays, I'm skipping a day. Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Fridays, the only day you don't get to watch NFL. That's okay. We're really close to Christmas time, so happy holidays. I'm Dan Salem. This has been great. I'm talking NFL and New York Jets football. I normally go around the league. The Giants are 9-4. They beat the Cowboys. They're headed straight for the playoffs. Once they secure up a berth, I will talk their positioning, but I'd be shocked if they don't make it at this point. And I'll be back next Tuesday. I will be on the East Coast, so perhaps I will do a little earlier than 8 Eastern, but I don't know. I'd like to stick with my time, so that would be 5 p.m. Pacific, which is 8 Eastern. So I will be live streaming, most likely around this exact same time next Tuesday, but then I'm going to take a break between Christmas and New Year's like all of us do, unless I am like getting begged by all you fans out there to continue on. I'm Dan Salem, at the Dan Salem on Facebook Live, at the Dan Salem on Twitter, BuzzChomp YouTube, at BuzzChomp with an extra Z on Twitter and on Facebook. Dan Salem talking NFL, New York Jets, 5 p.m. Pacific. Every Tuesday I will be here talking sports. But the holidays over the next 2 weeks, bear with me. I will let you know if things change, but I'm going to be here next Tuesday for sure. And then after that, I think I'll take a vacation week. All right, thank you guys. Until next week, I'm signing off.